Happy Sunday, everyone. I know it's been a while. Took about a month off. I just wanted to take a break and try to come up with some new topics to talk about. And, as usual, just finishing the gym. Today is Sunday, March 30th. We're about to hit April. Time flies. I think we're on episode 9, I believe. But, when I do the edit, I'll check it out. So I guess today, good topic to talk about is anxiety, depression. We all get anxiety in some way, shape, or form. Some people like to call it nervous, procrastinating, butterflies. It happens to all of us. Some others, it happens with little things. Some of us, it happens with bigger things. And with the mixture of both, it could be overwhelming, especially when a lot of negative things are happening in your life. Whether it has to do with relationships, family, work, life in itself, health. Health is a big one. And if you don't learn how to deal with anxiety, which is the lowest form, which leads into depression most of the times, you're going to get overwhelmed real easy all the time. And if you know yourself, which most of us know our bodies at this point in time of our life, we know what sets us off, what triggers us, and what happens when we get triggered and set off. And a lot of us don't know how to deal with that. So we just explode. And then that's how we deal with it. And then it takes time for us to cool off, like an engine overheating in a car. You got to let it sit, turn it off for it to cool down before you can start it up again. What I've been learning these past 3.5 years of my journey is tools and different things of learning how to cool itself down, or cool myself down before I get overheated. Kind of like what a radiator does to a car. I don't know why I'm using a car as an example, but it's the only thing I know I can compare it to. But like the coolant in a radiator keeps the engine cool, never letting it overheat. So as we get anxiety, nervous, worried, there's ways and tools that we could use to keep that level head. No matter the circumstances, how serious it is, and everyone knows that, that knows me, as I'm a retired NYPD police officer. We learned in the academy how to deal with it, but we didn't know how to deal with it until we actually went on the streets and lived it and dealt with it. And then that's when we had to revert back to learning to calm situations down. De-escalate was the main word. Verbal judo, for those who remember that, what they taught us to verbally talk people down from a high level down to a lower level. We use these tools in everyday life, but when it comes to our own self, we don't use it on our own self. Why? It's mind-boggling. But if we take a step back and use those same tools on our own selves, you will see that life won't be as stressful and anxiety, which again, I believe will lead into that depressive mode where you're just so overwhelmed. You're just like, everyone gets that feeling where they're just like, well, whatever, man. It is what it is. Let's just deal with it. It's being negative towards a negative situation is not going to make it better. The only way that's going to make it better is being positive towards a negative situation. And I understand some of us don't know how to be positive in a negative situation because we're always negative. We're taught that negativity is a form of tough love, or get over it. Or even our parents back in the day, this is how I was raised, and this is how I'm going to raise you, and you're going to learn how to deal with the world. And it made it work back then because that's what the world revolved around. But now the world is different. You know, it's more sensitive. It's just different. And in all these years, I'm 43 years old, and I started my journey 3 years ago. So 40 years of living that way got me so overwhelmed, and anxiety continued, and then depression set in, that I had no matter what tools I used, it didn't work. And that can happen to anybody. It happened to me, I'll admit it. So different ways of, dealing with certain things. Anxiety is just like, first you just got to assess the situation, assess it, and believe that, and this is true, and I've been learning this whole time. Things happen for a reason. Negative things happen so positive things can develop. That's just the way it is. And it also teaches you, to be better and do better for the next situation. If you didn't have bad things happen or negative things happen, then all of us would be successful. What's the fun of that, right? That's just too easy. Everyone wants the easy way out. Well, guess what? When it comes to mental health, it's no easy way out. It's hard. But you got to want it, and to face that hardness. And anxiety affects us all every day, and there's a point where you get, and you're just like, I don't want to be like this no more. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to think like this. There's a point that just switches, and you just want to be a better person for the people around you, whether it be your family, your kids, co-workers, somebody you look up to. You want to be a better person for them. And in order for you to be a better person, it starts with you. Nobody can force you to be a better person except you. And that's the key, the very key. You can't, it's not like a diet. Well, I'm going to do it so I can be fit for the summer, or I'm going to do it so I can lose 10 pounds. It's not a short-term thing. It's a lifestyle. It has to be a lifestyle for you to start healing. And, I mentioned in my past videos, time goes but never comes back. So if you don't make the best of it now, you're not going to be better in the future. You need to make the best of it now so you can always be better in the future. And things are going to happen. Things are going to get you down. You're going to get anxiety. You're going to get, sad. But you have that coolant, that radiator in a car that keeps you level-headed. And if you have a good support system, use it. I go to therapy every week. I go to group therapy. I talk about it. You can't just keep it inside, bottled up. I did that for so many years. And my out was back then drinking, just being an asshole, I guess, at work, being a bully, I guess. I admit those things. I'm sorry for those who had to deal with me, but that was my way of coping with that at a time. And that's not a good way of doing that. I've been sober since December 2nd of 2022, and the world and my eyes have opened up so much where I see certain people. I'm like, yeah, that was me. I understand why they're doing what they're doing, and pursuing that front, toughness, when they're inside, they're really weak and crying for help. I see it now. They say as we get older, we get more wiser. Well, guess what? It took me 43 years to get wiser. And this is why I started this YouTube channel, to help everybody. And I'm not going to get into things you can do. I mean, I guess I will, to start thinking positive is just, in order to, every single day, it's consistency is the key. You got to start the day up positive, no matter what. Start it off with gratitude. When you wake up, just take 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Just be thankful first for 5 things. Waking up, your health, job if you have it, family or people you care about. There you go. There's 5 things, I think. Wait, no, that's 4. A car, if you have it. It could be anything. And then the next day, come up with 5 things. You can repeat it. Just always start the day off positive. That's key. And also do it when you go tonight to bed. End on a good note. Start with a good note. And then stay active. Your mind is meant to be busy. People get overwhelmed by their mind being busy because they're lazy. If you like sitting at home and being lazy and watching TV once in a while, that's okay. But you always got to stay busy, constant, always thinking. Your mind is meant to think. It's very powerful. Your mind reflects the rest of your body. You are what you think, just like that saying, you are what you eat. There was this thing I heard, everyone who walks around and you see someone, they're a walking billboard of their lifestyle. And that meant, like, holy crap. So, that that Jack Nicklaus saying, "You look how I feel." Well, if you keep doing it long enough, you're gonna look how you feel, and that's what we're trying to prevent. Active. Whether if you're not into sports, just walk or stay active. And if you're work from home, which is the worst thing that could have possibly happened, is people working from home. All they do is sit around all day, eat. Sit around all day, eat. And then we're done with work. What do they do after that? Sit around, eat. You keep doing that year after year after year, you're going to turn into an unhealthy person, mentally, physically. You have to force yourself. And this is very hard because, again, with anxiety comes procrastination. Yeah, I know I need to work out. Yeah, I know I need to do this. I know. You know how many people would be so happy to be in your feet or shoes, I'm sorry. So happy to just walk for those who can't walk. So happy for those to see, for those who can't see, or hear. Your 5 senses, there's people out there that don't have any of those senses. Nonetheless, missing one sense. For those who have all these, make the best of it. And even if there is, a situation where you're either handicapped or not, you guys already know the struggle of what it is, and you just overcome it by dealing with it, and making the best of life. Some people will be like, oh, I feel bad because, they're like, well, why feel bad? They've been like that. But look at them. They're out. They're about. They're not at home dwelling on it and, saying that, negative things. They're out doing life. Because what happens, like everything else I've been saying, life continues. You either keep up with it or you fall behind. A lot of us tend to fall behind. And that's where we need our support systems, our tools, to keep up with life, to keep us going and keep us positive. And then all that negativity leads to that depressive mode, which is like close to rock bottom. And we want to prevent that. So that was the basic, well, my opinion and basic discussion on anxiety leading into depression. And I'm always there for anybody. The best way I feel on top of my tools and stuff is helping others, because I've been there. And if you've been there, you know how to help other people. You know exactly what they're feeling or what they're going through. I'm not just saying positive things just to say it. I say it because I lived it and still live in it. Everyone wants to be 100% better, they say. You're never going to be 100%. Life is going to continue to happen. Negative things are going to continue to happen. It's just the way life is. It's not easy. And you just have to I don't know how you say, start from the bottom when every time something bad happens. And it gets too overwhelming, you ask for help. You see other people going through things. You will, if you ask for help, you will see other people going through things. And then you will say to yourself, wow, I thought my situation was bad. And then you You see hear other people, and sometimes it's worse in your situation, and it makes you humble. And then you say to yourself, well, I guess I shouldn't be complaining. It could always be worse, which it could. It could always be worse. At any given time, you never know what life brings your way, or why life brings these things into your life the way they do. But you can't stop trying. You can't. You can't give up. You can't let yourself down, the most important person, and let family down, your kids down. You can't let anybody down. Everyone depends on certain things and certain people. And, it's very important that you keep going. Well, hopefully that helped a lot of you guys. Comment below, if you have any concerns, questions, or even want to, again, talk about certain topics or, anything. I'd be grateful and glad to help and talk about certain things. And I'm glad to be back. And hopefully this weather gets warmer. Yesterday was like 80 degrees, but, it's back to being cold, cloudy. But again, you got to think of positive. Worked out, had a great day, start the day off great. The rest of the day is going to be great. And that's it. Just remember, guys, I've been there, so you don't have to. Stay safe, think positive. Take care, bye.